Howdy, Charlie Simons here. Do not talk. Broadcasting live from the Mag 7 Ranch. Yes, it's an actual place. Yes, cattle, horses, sheep, miniature donkey. No kidding. Name Ralph. He's mean. And all the dogs. That's the Mag 7 Ranch. I got my little studio set up here and everything, and been doing this for over a year now. Captain Kirk, my producer from Forefront Aerial Productions, he has produced, coming up to 180 shows now. We're into our third season. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming along for the ride. You like, you subscribe, you share, you help us in amazing ways. Great way to help us. Subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to this right now. All you got to do is click that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. No, I'm not signing you up or making you sign your life away or any of that kind of goofy stuff. I'm not that guy. We don't operate that way. In fact, we operate under biblical principles, especially Ephesians 5:11. Be no part of evil, but instead expose it. And that's what today's show is all about, exposing tremendous evil. Scammers. And they prey on the lonely, and they prey on the greedy. It's true. And most of us, if we're not lonely, we do have some form of greed. Oh, I'm going to get all of this for nothing. Oh, I'm going to be able to save a few cents by going to this big box store and buying stuff made in China. It's all a scam. And you can avoid it by buying American at tomahawkswitch.com/Charlie. There you go. There's my plug, Kirk. It's nice and quick. Buy American, tomahawkswitch.com/Charlie. American-made products only. And I'm really glad to be able to present to you, ladies and gentlemen, for your dining and dancing pleasure in just a minute, Mr. Walt Lott and Pastor Michaelb Baggett. And this is what we're going to be talking about, how seniors are being scammed and lonely Christians, single Christian dating sites, real bad for scammers. And how they're targeting and how they're doing it and how you can fight back against it or not be a victim of it. It's worse than ever before. And they're very, very deceptive in how they've set things up. So we're going to tell you the things to look for. Before we get to that, though, I was recently privileged to be at the Pastor Jack Hibbs came up from Calvary Chapel in Chino Hills down in Southern California, and did a rally, had about 2,000 people at the California State Capitol building. And it was all about fighting against these 4 bills, which are aimed directly at taking away parents' rights. Your children are going to be a ward of the state if you keep them in public schools. It's bad. So that's what that was all about. And I'm so glad I was there because I ran into some really great people, including this man who I just love, admire, respect. His name is Boomer. Here it is.
The parents is this. I'm not trying to radicalize you or your kids. I'm not trying to Boomer, Christ, Jesus, God, the Father, the creator of the universe. We aren't attempting to kick down your door and make you or your kid believe in Jesus. However, we are trying to make sure that you, your kid, and your household maintain that freedom that you always had. Governor Newsom is trying to come and take away that freedom. So I'm not really worried about if you are on board with Christ. Back up the fact that we are on the front lines fighting for you as well. That's the bigger picture. But the left, the radical left wants us to be like so divided amongst each other when we just think about if we are a community of fathers and mothers who are neighbors with each other, then we should find a common goal to fight for. And if there's any common goal in the universe to fight for, it's the right for us to keep the liberty as parents. Period. Regardless of what political aisle you're on, regardless of what your faith-based system is. Because understand this, your kid doesn't understand sexuality. Your kid doesn't understand gender-affirming care. All your kid knows is what you allowed them to be taught. So if you allow your child to be taught things that are against your moral compass, and you will allow the government to come and teach that, or allow the government to come inside of your house and say you have to affirm a specific gender on your kids that you birthed, that came from your loins. You're telling me that I'm gonna allow a government system to come inside of my household and tell my wife, who birthed that kid, who had that kid in their belly for 9 months, who stood on, who laid down and gave birth to that kid, and I'm about to allow any entity outside of our household to come and tell her what she can and cannot do with that child? Are you crazy? That's a parenting issue. That's not political. That's not Democrat, Republican, liberal, or conservative. That is parenting. Amen. And this dirtbag is attempting to come and take that right from you, whether you're on the left or the right or indifferent.
Governor Hairdo.
Come on, man.
Come up close here, Boomer.
Yes, sir.
Because I want you to be able to express something that's been on my mind, and I'll bet you can do it better than I can.
All right.
According to statistics, almost a third of the population of the entire state of California claims to be Christian. We don't show up.
No.
We don't show up especially for midterm and primary elections,
not even
which is where things are decided before the big election. We're not showing up. What do you say to these people who don't even bother to vote, but are followers of Christ Jesus, and especially the ones that say, well, I don't want to vote against God, or my vote doesn't count?
Please pay attention to Scripture.
Here we go.
Please pay attention to what God is showing us in Scripture. There has never been a time in Scripture where God did not attempt to make his people influence those who are in power. Every time. Who was Daniel? Who was Esther? Who was the 3 Hebrew boys? Who was Isaiah? Who was Paul? Remember, Paul appealed to King Agrippa.
That's right.
That was not political, men and women of God.
And then he appealed to Caesar.
God has, listen, Scripture God has always wanted his people to appeal to those in power. Always. And that's what our vote does. Our votes appeal to those in power to get them to see what God desires. Bada bing, bada boom. You don't need to go any more further than that.
I just knew you'd be able to put it in better words than I.
God is good, brother.
You're great. You're great because of the Lord.
Bada bing. That's
it.
That's
so much. Boomer Bennett, where do we find you? How do we follow what you're doing? And Turning Point.
Yes.
How do we get involved?
So you can go follow me at Boomer Bennett on any social media platform. I'm primarily on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow TPUSA Faith. Please, you guys.
Faith, F-A-I-T-H.
Yes, F-A-I-T-H. TPUSA Faith on any platform, Facebook, TikTok, all of the stuff, Instagram, and we are literally here to help the church play spiritual offense. We've been playing defense for far too long.
Way too long.
And we serve a God who said, go and conquer the land.
Right.
That's called offense. Go and conquer.
And all this country was founded by his people saying, oh, no, we're not going to vote. We're not going to worship the way the king told us we have to.
Listen,
we're literally getting off this island.
Exactly. Let's stop making our Christianity complicated. God made it simple addition. 1 + 1 = 2. When the people of God start to use their influence, the nations change.
I love this man.
Love you too, brother.
Thank you so much, my friend.
All right, man. My wife is calling me. Okay. I'm out of here.
Go get her.
Ain't trying to have an upset pregnant wife.
A special dude right there. Speaking of special dudes, Walt Lott and Michaelb Baggett talking about scammers. Next on Do Not Talk. Hit it.
Yep, here he comes. Riding his trusted steed through the Sierra foothills as he brings you the news. Oh yeah! Oh yeah! He calls himself
Charlie.
What you doing, Charlie?
Sorry, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. There you are. Look how cute you are. Yeah.
Hey, Charlie. What's with the dark glasses?
And now, here he is, a man of God, living in a world of Disney.
Ow, Charlie!
Charlie Simons.
Charlie bit me.
I am Charlie Simons, and this is Do Not Talk, talking about two things you're never supposed to talk about, which is religion and politics. That's all I heard growing up. Oh, it's too divisive. Don't talk about religion and politics. Well, I think we got away from that at the wrong time, right when we should be talking about it the most. So I'm trying to play catch up here. And I'm introducing you to people and things and events that are going on. This show goes by the scripture Ephesians 5:11, which is be no part of evil, but instead expose it. Scripture tells us to call out evil. Don't be a part of it, but call it out. That's what we do. And one of the most evil things that I see going on, and I've been passionate about this for a long time. I used to try and warn my grandparents. From a young age, I've been in the media my entire adult life. I have really focused on what's happening with seniors. I was a weird kid who I'd go around the neighborhood and visit all the retired folks. So I grew up hearing stories of not only people from the Second World War, but even before that. Hearing their stories, encouraging them to talk about it, I became very close with all these people who didn't have people my age visiting them. I'm talking like 11, 12, 13, 14. I was a weird kid. I had these neighbors that I'd go visit just regularly and just talk to them, hear the stories. I think it kind of set me up for where I am now, which is to call out some of the worst villains, as far as I'm concerned, in society, and those who take advantage of these seniors. I love their knowledge. I love what they contribute, what they give to us. If you don't learn from history, you're going to be doomed to repeat it. So I love to hear about history. I'm a big student of it. And when I heard from a mutual friend about this gentleman who was helping a friend of his, I said, I want to get him on. His name is Walt Lott. You may have never heard of him, but he's now on Do Not Talk. Hello, sir.
How you doing, Charlie?
I'm borderline amazing. I was a weird kid. I really did. I went around and visited all these seniors in the neighborhood. They were my friends, more so than kids my own age. When I was very young.
I wouldn't call that weird, Charlie. I'd call that doing God's work.
Well, I appreciate that, but all my friends thought I was weird, and I value hearing the stories and the history and letting them share what got them through life. And that you can navigate so much easier when you have somebody who actually cares to share their experiences with you, so you can avoid the pitfalls or take a better path to be successful in life. That's how I always looked at it. Now, when I heard about your friend who is 90, 91.
He's almost 90. He's about, I think he's 89.
You don't have to say his name if you don't want to, but please share with us his story.
Okay. I want to preface it by saying one thing. No matter what kind of pain, your physical ailment or illness you're going through, there's really nothing worse than watching somebody that you love suffer, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's what I was going through for the past 3 years with this gentleman who was just he's a victim of scammers. So I'll tell you how it started. So, he's a pastor. He was our chaplain. Just a wonderful human being. He was a veteran. He was a chaplain in Vietnam. The only chaplain I've ever known to get a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star. So getting a Purple Heart means you've been wounded in combat. Chaplains normally do not get wounded in combat because they're non-combatants, right? So he went on a patrol with his men against his CO's orders. His CO said, "No, you stay here, chaplain." And he went out on a patrol with his men, and they got ambushed. He got wounded, but he was there he goes, "I wanted to be there with my guys." That's where chaplain's supposed to be, on the front lines with his people. This is the kind of man that he is, the most gentle, loving human being I have ever met in my entire life. So he's having problems with his transmission, And I said, do you need help? What can we do? And he said, hey, no problem. I got some funds coming in that I can afford to fix a transmission and do a whole bunch of other things. Well, me and my friends, we didn't think much about that because, it didn't. He was very sharp. I mean, when you talk to him, you would never know that he's having some kind of mental decline. You would never know it. So as time went on, he kept talking about the funds that he's going to get. And I, out of curiosity, where's that money coming from? He said, oh, I won the sweepstakes. About 1,000 alarm bells went off at one time. They go, did you enter the sweepstakes? Oh, no, I didn't. What kind of sweepstakes is it? I don't know. This guy called me and told me I won and that I'd be getting, here's a kicker, $10 billion in 2 cars. And I said, that sounded like a scam to me. Well, I had to pay him like, I forgot what it was, X number of dollars for taxes. And I said, listen, when you win a sweepstakes, number one, you have to enter the sweepstakes. Number two, the tax money's taken out by the government. They love our money and they don't wait. They take that money out. So it was like, well, he's going to deliver. I know he's going to deliver. And I go, how long have you been waiting for these people to deliver? 6 years, Charlie.
Oh, my
This has been
goodness.
going on for 6 years. And I think he ended up giving these people several $100,000 over time.
Wait,
And
what? Excuse me, Mr. Lott.
Yes.
How much?
I don't know the exact amount, but I would say at least $300,000 over time.
This is probably taken up a good chunk, if not all of his retirement.
It took everything.
Good Lord. So they
The
worked him hardcore. Was it all on the phone or was it one of those email things from
It was all over-
Nigeria?
Yeah, it was all over the phone. I even listened in on one of those, and I told him, I go, Harley, this is a scam. And he wouldn't. Here's a heartbreaking part. There were three of us that we didn't want. We didn't want to embarrass the guy. There's 3 of us. Each of us tried in vain to tell him that you're getting taken, and the money that he was hoping to get, he wanted to open up a Christian school that was tuition free to educate and train ministers, because he felt that the seminaries were overcharging with tuition. He said it was a scam. That was a scam, and he wanted something that he could train men of God free of charge. That's what he wanted to do. It wasn't for him. None of this was for him. It was all for doing God's work. And I tell you, the range of emotions you go through just hearing this stuff, I mean, just anger. Because I don't want to say it on the air what I want to do, but you can imagine. So
the frustrating thing for me is too, most of these are overseas, and our laws do not apply. We have no recourse other than to educate and try and let our seniors know, our family members, our friends know, stop it. Don't, anybody calls you saying anything like this is what I had to sit down and talk to my mom about it. And now she does, thank God. Any kind of calls, anybody shows up knocking on the door. She bought an annuity from somebody who came knocking on doors in the neighborhood. Well, he seemed so nice, and he said he was from Hawaii, and he was just so friendly. And you gave him how much money? This is crazy what's going on. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think it's because you think it's just that generation, just the the greatest generation, and maybe some of the baby boomers getting into retirement age? Do you think they're the only ones who are susceptible to this because they seem to be the ones that are mostly targeted? What is it about this generation that makes them roll right over and go, oh, "Okay, I'll send you money because you said you're going to give me more"?
Well, I think there's two things. Number one, I think the age. When you get to a certain age, you don't really. The reasoning isn't there anymore. I've seen that decline in my mother, and I've seen her go downhill. That's part of it. The other one, talk about my friend. His name's Harley. Okay, he could never imagine. He couldn't fathom anybody that could be that evil that could do something like that.
There it is. Yep.
That was it. He told me, he goes, I can't imagine, because he was heartbroken, not just because of the money, but because he trusted these people. They would tell him anything. And they were not just one scammer, there were several. Just like a nest of demons. I told them that's what they are. This is a nest of demons, and don't talk to these people. I go, these people, you're talking to Satan. Don't talk to Satan. What do you two have in common? So I told him, you have nothing. Don't talk to these. Just hang up. But unfortunately, he didn't. He ended up losing his house. He lost everything. Now, at least one good thing, him and his wife are now in an elder care facility, so he's no longer living in a hotel. So that part, at least he's in a safe place.
He lost his house, so they had to live in a hotel.
Yes. And here's the other thing too, Charlie. It's not just the illegal scammers, it's the legal scammers too, because the developer who got him to sign all this stuff, when I knew that Harley was not in his right mind and was able to actually, when Harley went through a bankruptcy thing, and the bankruptcy judge ruled in his favor. And this individual, I don't want to say his name, this individual was able to go through the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals and overturn that. When that judge told this developer guy, hey, this is elder abuse. And I talked to Harley about a couple of days ago. And I go, how you doing? He's doing fine. They're in a safe place. That's my main concern right now, safe place. And he said, oh, Mr. So-and-so sent me a letter through his lawyer saying that I had to get everything out of that house by Tuesday. I said, listen, Harley, you get a hold of somebody. You tell him, do not contact me anymore, or I will go after you for elder abuse. And I go, I can't believe he's that stupid, because that is I'm sorry, go ahead, Charlie.
Well, I was going to say, Walt, this is a perfect opportunity to bring in somebody I want to introduce you to, and vice versa. I highly, like you, I highly respect this man. I admire the work that he does. He's a pastor and a strong believer and follower of Christ Jesus. But also, this is one of his passions. I've heard him speak about what's going on with scammers. His name is Michaelb Baggett. Michael, meet Walter Lott.
I heard the story, Walter. I'm so sorry. And that's exactly why I've studied this, looked into it, and that's exactly why I've been speaking about it in our congregation, and I'm glad that Charlie's talking about it. Because despite how silly it seems, people are still, getting caught up in this. And like you said, most people are so innocent-minded, they have no idea anybody would ever do something so evil. So they just, go with the flow. These scammers are taking advantage of our innocence.
Amen. What is a resource, Michael, that you know of that maybe Walt could share with his friend or pursue? He said, contact somebody and say to this other attorney, you got to work through this person here. I'm going to go after you. Well, he's 89 years old. He's now living in a convalescent hospital. Who does he contact?
Yeah, there are some victim funds available through the state of California. Frankly, I don't have that information with me, but I will tell you, I think the best, obviously, once you get scammed, it's going to be very, very difficult. Like you said, the laws don't apply in other countries, and so much of this, the large majority, is taking place out of country. Now, what is happening is the U.S. government is working with other governments, and they are able to bust. There's been thousands and thousands of people arrested who've been scammers. But I would tell you, I have really enjoyed this YouTube channel called guys. You got to watch. It's just nothing else. It's entertaining to the max. It's so fun. It's called Scammer Payback. And what this guy does, okay, here's how the scam, just so people know. One of the scams is you've won something. You've won a sweepstakes, like was talked about. And another buddy of mine, he called and said, you won $2 million on a sweepstakes, and you got to pay the $9,000 in taxes or up front, $9,000 on $2 million, whatever. This guy was not, he's retired. He has a very, very minimal income. He leveraged everything, borrowed $9,000, paid it, and said, well, they're going to call me back. They're going to call me. Well, that call never happened. And so a bunch of family and friends have come around him and done the best we can. But the reality is he still owes the money, and there's probably going to be no redemption for that. He just lost it. So, but the other way it happens is you'll get an email or a text, usually an email that says, hey, your subscription to Norton Antivirus has just been renewed. So we just charge you $438.
Right.
And
that's a new one.
So you call the number and say, hey, I just got a notification that my Norton Antivirus subscription has been renewed. I'd like to cancel it. Okay, well, let me help you cancel that. And then what they do is they're very kind. They know exactly what they're doing. They know, how old are you? Oh, you sound like you're 70. Oh, you sound like you're 40. Oh, they really empathize. They play into the customer, and then they have you get on on your computer, and they take you to AnyDesk or a number of different software systems they will access your computer, and they will set up a bank account. So it looks like, okay, you have $1,000 in your bank account. Okay, we're going to refund you the $400. So you go in there and you put in $400 in your bank account, and boom, the page says, oh, you just put in $4,000. Oh, ma'am, I'm sorry, you made a mistake. You put in 4,000 instead of 400. I need you to go to the bank and send me $3,600. And it's looking on the screen like they just got $4,000. Now, that's a very low amount. Like was discussed earlier, these amounts they'll look at your bank account and they're going to tell you how much to put, they know how much to soak you for. So a lot of times it's $40,000 or $90,000. It's all over the place. Norton Antivirus is bottom line is you'll get an email that says your subscription has been renewed. This can be to Amazon, Norton Antivirus, Best Buy, all over the place. I got a subscription notice just yesterday from somebody. I don't even know who it was. It's just like your subscription has been renewed, and I just deleted it. I don't pay any attention. So that's the main thing is they charge. For example, I got a notification from Amazon. Totally looked like Amazon. Your PS3 is on its way. $475. I'm like, right. I didn't order a PS3. So I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, same thing. So I just deleted it. It was nothing. If I would have responded to that, that was a scammer. And, most of the scammers, when you call these stations, these phone numbers, many of them are from India, but they're also from other places like China and Russia and some in the US, they're American, but you'll call the number and it'll be clearly an Indian guy with a very heavy accent said, this is Sam Wilson. Sam Wilson? That doesn't sound like a Sam Wilson to me.
No, my name is John Wayne.
They keep going and going, and it's unbelievable. So again, the YouTube channel is called Scammer Payback. And what he does is he calls these numbers, and this dude is one of the best hackers in the world. He gets on the phone with these scammers, and he hacks their systems and deletes their file and gets money from them and all kinds of stuff. Oh, it's just fun to watch. But this guy, as far as I know, is the leading scam buster in the country right now. It's a huge YouTube channel. He's working, like I said, with the government. He works with other national governments, and it's really fun. But you got to educate yourself. If something, if you're getting a notification that you were charged something and you're like, I don't even know this company, that's a scam. You know, you're getting a
thank you for
subscription
bringing that up, Michael. Thank you for bringing that up, because I again, I had to go through this with my mom. She loves to challenge them. Well, I'm gonna let them know that they didn't fool me. I'm gonna call them back. Or can you get me onto this website? I have to go to this website so I can tell them to leave me alone. And I had to tell no. And you educated me about something that's going on. I had no idea. If they do get you to respond to any kind of an email, you click on that link. I had no idea that there's a whole bevy of villains behind that person who are now accessing your computer and all your information. I had no idea it was that easy now.
And what's really interesting is not only will they scam you out of the money, but they now have control. They have access to your computer. They have access of your passwords. They have access to everything. They have literally just bugged your computer. And so long after the scam is done and you've paid the money, they still have access to your computer.
Don't respond is the best thing. I don't even know if you can forward emails or phone calls or text messages to any kind of government agency to make them aware of what's going on. If there is, I don't know about it. Either one of you gentlemen?
No.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it would be overwhelming. I would connect with Scammer Payback. That guy is actually actionable. He does this for a living. That's all he does is expose and bust and bring down scammers. So I would write YouTube channel Scammer Payback. Let them know they actually. Does government do anything efficiently? Come on now, really. Let's go to this other guy that actually does the work.
Well, you gentlemen know my producer Kirk Tashawn, Forefront Aerial Productions. He's got a little experience in this kind of thing as well.
Yes, I get quite a few scams sent to me. Actually, I had one last night. It came from Instagram, and it looked like it was my cousin's identity. And she said, "Oh, I'm doing great. I just got this government grant. Here, let me send you this link to discuss this with this person, this government link."
Wow.
Happened last night. Of course, I said, okay, thank you. And I just closed out of it knowing it's a scammer, but it came from Instagram. So what they'll do is they'll look at your profile. They'll get onto your profile. They'll look to see if you have somebody on Facebook that's not on Instagram. And what they'll do is they'll take that person and they'll create an account on Instagram that looks like your cousin or your brother or your sister. You can report it to the FBI. So usually what I do is I just take the link and don't click on it, just copy it, send it to the FBI. They have a scam department, and then you'll have to fill out a report. And as soon as you fill out that report, then what they'll do is they'll investigate it. Usually,
and you've actually done that? Okay, walk us through it. How do we do it? I would have no idea how to send an email to the FBI other than look it up and hope I get the right info.
What you do is just do an FBI search to report scam, and the website will come up. And then all you do is you look on the FBI website, it'll say report scam. So you click on it and it'll ask you what type of scam it was, provide some additional information. Usually they'll ask you to provide anything that you have. Last thing, like you guys just said, do not click on that link because it will go to them. They will know because they have reporting. That's another thing is they can put reporting on it. So that way they know the activity of the link.
I'd imagine it's probably easiest to access your phone, and they send clicks and text messages. And I'm like, how do they get my phone number? But here's how they've built this database of suckers. Basically, when you go to, let's say, the county fair, and you see all these booths there, and we're giving away a whatever, fill in the blank. Just put in your information, contact, and we'll contact you if you win. Well, that might be a reputable company, or might not. Or they might be having somebody who's making a little cash on the side selling your information to these scammers. And so next thing you know, you're on a list. Oh, yeah. And then you start, that's why, go ahead.
One more scam that we found recently. So we were doing a ministry event where we were selling tickets for $25, and we put it on Facebook, and we put it on our website. And soon on Facebook, we started noticing people said, "Oh, I bought 4 tickets to this event. You can get my tickets, and I'll give them to you for $20 a piece." This person didn't have tickets. They didn't have tickets. It was a scam. If you're selling any tickets or anything like that online, scammers will look and see what you're selling and say, "Hey, I've got some, buy mine." And so we've had to say, buy your tickets only from this location. Don't buy them from individuals.
I had no idea that was going on too now.
Pastor,
yep. The last event that we did, we saw 6 or 8 people selling tickets for our event that didn't have tickets to our event.
There, the scammer Payback guy is awesome because he can do an imitation of an elderly woman you wouldn't know.
Yes. Right.
Can I bring up another there's also the romance scammers, and they are everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a YouTube video and it wasn't just elderly people, it was just lonely folks that get pulled into this, and they get sucked dry. And let me give you an example. On my Facebook page, I have a picture of my mother. I got a picture of me on the side, but a picture of my mom. And since I put her picture up there, I've been getting a lot of people, sending me friend requests.
Right. Yes.
And so I remember I accepted one just to see what was going on. And the first text, "Oh, you're beautiful. Anybody thinks I'm beautiful has got to be a scammer." But that's what they do. That's what they do. And, again, like Kirk was talking about Instagram yesterday, and the same thing that Kirk had happened to him. I had an old buddy of mine I used to work with. He's been retired for a long time. And I see him sending me a friend request. Well, this guy has a habit of forgetting his password and stuff. So he'll create new accounts. So I'm not sure if this is or is not a scammer. So what I did, I asked him a question. I said, "Hey, Ron, how's Mike Walsh doing?" And when I got back, "Oh, I haven't talked to Mike in a long time. I got to reach out to him." I knew that was wrong because Mike Walsh never existed. There's no Mike Walsh. So what he's going to do is same like Kirk. He said there's this Health and Human Services grant that you might want to look into, and I can send you the link. And I said, I got him. I said, "Look, I'm not interested in getting a grant from the government. I'm interested in getting the $500 that you owe me." He went away. All of a sudden, I couldn't send him any. But the situation is very sad because like the romance scammers, that's prevalent. And that I've seen folks that were, they're not in their 80s and 90s, but, late 60s or something. Maybe they're widowed or maybe they're divorced or they're lonely. And it's a heartbreaker to watch this. Like if you have a parent who's, a widower, they're prime targets for this stuff. And these people, I don't want to even call them people because to me, they're animals.
Yeah.
They are animals. They have no mercy.
I agree.
They have no mercy.
Yeah. I'm going to a couple of stories just real quickly here. Buddy of mine, late 50s. He's a truck driver. He's been on the road for 7 years. He drives all over the country. And, obviously it's hard to meet people. And he's about to quit truck driving. He wants to settle down. He goes on Christian Mingle. That would be a nice, safe place. Christian Mingle is one of the worst scamming websites on the planet. It's horrible. Wow. So he goes on there. He meets a girl. And they're talking for about 2 weeks. And he says, "Hey, I'm going to be 2 weeks of going back and forth. Everything's wonderful. I'm going to come see you." Within a couple of days of him arriving at her to see her in that town, she asked for money, a couple of $1,000. And he said it happened 4 times. The reason he called me after the 4th one was because this one was really special. She was talking about her father and her brother and how they all get along and so on and so forth. And she's supposedly a Christian person and so on and so forth. And she lives in Oregon, and everything is this. This one's different, right? A couple of days before he gets there, she asks him to borrow a few $1,000s, and he says, "Look, we're not even a relate. I just want to meet you," and no conversation for a day. Next day, she sends him a full frontal nude, and she looked like she was on the cover of Playboy, man, standing in a doorway. like everything. And he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, Michael, what do I do? I'm like, dude, let's run. Right. So he, it was really difficult because he, one hand he's thinking, man, I hope this is her. On the other hand, he's going, that's probably not her. Another story, buddy of mine is on, again, Christian Mingle, and another one, he was on Facebook too. And this is really common. They're going back and forth for only about 24 hours. It was about the 8th or the 10th something conversation back and forth. And I said to him, I was in the car with him. We were driving to Tennessee, and I'm like, ask her what church she goes to. So what church do you go to? He texts her, and she writes back. And while they're going, I'm looking up the church. That church doesn't exist in that town. It doesn't even exist within the region at all. That church does not exist. Then I said, ask her if you can do a video chat. And she goes, oh, well, my phone is broken. It would be really cool if you can send me $350 so I can get a new phone. And then we can chat.
It is.
You're right. There's all kinds of romance scams. They're real. It happens to regular, wonderful, wonderful people. So, be aware.
They play so much off of ego and greed, and I'll see people, and it seems to be, I'm not saying it's all women, but predominantly women who will post about, who do these men think they are? They're hitting on me and I don't even know them. And what they're doing is these scammers are posting comments. Oh, I couldn't send you a friend request, but it'd be nice if you sent me one. You're so beautiful. You're so this, you're so that. They will screenshot it. Then they'll post it and go, well, I don't know why, but all these men are just hitting on me from all over the place. And my response is always the same. You think you're the only one? This is happening to all of us. This is going on like crazy. Don't click on it. Don't engage. Block them. Click on it enough to go to their profile and block them and report them.
Yeah, I got a friend request from a 4-star general.
Go ahead, Walt.
I got a friend request from a 4-star general. Same thing. I enjoy your post. Please send me a friend request.
Now they have access to your friends list.
Yeah, how many women go by the name of Walter?
Michael, what were you going to say? What were you going to say, Mike?
I would tell anybody and everybody, if you don't know them, like was said earlier, if you didn't enter the sweepstakes, if you don't have a subscription, if you don't know them, people are just so anxious to get these new messages and stuff. And if you don't know the person, just delete the dang thing. If somebody really needs to get a hold of you, they will do so in an appropriate way. So anything, whether it's an email or a subscription notification or it's a friend request, whatever. If you don't know, just delete it. Just real simple. You don't have to chomp on every little thing that gets in your way.
Exactly. Or block them if it's on a social media site, you can block them. And I think that's imperative because what they're trying to do is get an access to your friends list. And I have mine set up. And not a lot of people know you can do this on your Facebook. I'll take Facebook, for example. You can set it up to where nobody can see your friends list. And I have it set up that way on purpose because I want to protect my friends. I don't want them to be targeted by these clowns. So they have to send me a friend request because once you're a friend, then you can see everything else. So they have to try and get me to actually allow them access. You can find that when you go to settings on your Facebook page and scroll to friends, and you can set it up to where it's private. I strongly suggest you do that today, everybody.
And I just want to say one more thing. Go ahead, Walter.
Okay. Yeah. And Pastor, I would, want to get your buy-in on this too. For folks that have elderly parents, especially when you start to notice they start to slip, and it's a heartbreaking thing to see when they're starting to lose their faculties because they've raised you and they've done everything for you. Now you really got to take care of them. Right. And I think the best thing you can do is really get power of attorney. So that way, you can protect them, because otherwise, like with my friend, his daughter, God bless her, I cannot not imagine what she's going through. But if you get, the power of attorney where you have some legal recourse where you can stop the stuff from happening. Because once it goes down, once it goes down that road, it's hard to stop, because here's the thing I've noticed with the elderly folks who've got dementia is that they don't know there's anything wrong. They don't know. They will fight you tooth and nail. There's nothing wrong with me. And to them, they're fine. It's the rest of the world that's nuts. So trying to reason with them, trying to argue with them, trying to get them to see logic, I'm going to tell you, you can't do it. It's heartbreaking. But the logic faculty is no longer working. So you need to start, talking to your parents. And the hardest thing is sometimes they don't want to give you that power of attorney.
That's what I was gonna ask you about, because thank you for bringing that up. And a second great option is a trust. But again, you have to go through an attorney. If you don't have that kind of money, what do? If your parent or parents say, no, we're in fine mind, like your friend, Walt, like your friend, he goes, no, I don't need to relinquish power of attorney to anybody. I'm smart. I know what's going on. In the meantime, he's lost $300,000 to a scammer.
At least.
How do you do it?
Yeah.
Michael, do you know?
Walter said, so I've had several members of our ministry who have elderly parents who have been scammed. And what they did, the resolution was, it's difficult, but like you said, the faculties are not always there. So they restricted the access to the online banking of that elderly person and basically gave a power of attorney for one of the kids to do it. Because again, they're sitting at home, somebody calls them, they're so nice and they're so sweet, and you just get caught up in this conversation. And next thing you know, I mean, it's fraud. So again, what we've asked people to do and what our friends have done is literally restrict the direct access so that they cannot give anybody money unless it's approved by their, the executor, or if you will.
Well, that's my question, though.
And I also wanted to say this. They went to the bank and just said, hey, we're going to restrict my mom. They just took mom out of, mom no longer had access to the bank account.
And the bank said that's okay?
Well, yeah, they changed the name. I don't know what but they legally restricted the access to the mom's bank account, like put it in the daughter's name or whatever, so that mom could not just randomly send money electronically.
I think you have to legally have power. You have to have power of attorney to be able to do that.
Well,
I'm
sure that's what they did. But
my mom.
They restricted, however they did it, they restricted access so that mom cannot send money, online anymore. And I also want to say this, guys, if you're listening, this is absolutely real. This is not scare. This is not hype. This is absolutely real. It's happening to thousands of people every day. The U.S. is the major target. Elderly people are a major target. And I'm telling you, this is real, and it's happening all the time.
And Walt and Michael, I think a lot of the reason why their world view comes from the television shows that they watch. My mom's a fine example. She's a couch potato. It's a true crime channel, which they don't cover this stuff. It's Hallmark Channel. It's Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. And the local news. What do you get from that other than everything's all nice and good and everyone has your best interest at heart? And that's not the world we're in now. And you're right. I completely agree with you, Walter, that they just can't imagine that people would be so wicked and evil that they would steal the entire retirement of somebody who can never make that money back. But there's plenty of them, and they're all lined up, and they're not necessarily in the United States of America, so you can't even really go after them. Best thing you can do is get smart, get wise, stop responding to these things. Click, delete, block, report. Do it. Don't be sucked in. They use your ego, they compliment you, or they play to your greed. That's a big.
There's so many. There's another scam that a friend of mine fell for. And I tried to tell her, don't do this. It was a secret shopper or something like that. So here's what they do. They send you what looks like a check in the mail for, let's say, in her case, it's $1,200. And you deposit this in the bank, and you keep a certain amount, and you give them $300 or whatever. So it seems like you're getting the deal. you know?
Yeah.
So what happens, you cash the check, and I think the way it works, the bank puts up the money until the check clears, right? So when that check clears, it bounces and you're on the hook for the money. They got their 300, but you end up holding the bag. That's another, there's so many of them. And really the rule of law to look at is think about it, you know, who's going to gain from this? You know, if it's too good to be true, it is. Nobody's giving away money. Mm-hmm. And if you win something, you don't have to pay money to get the money if you win it. And if you win a sweepstakes that you did not enter, you probably didn't win a sweepstakes. So I asked Harley, I go, how could you win a sweepstakes that you didn't enter?
You never entered.
I asked them that, and they said they go through Walmart. You know, you go through Walmart, you shop, you enter. I go, did you call Walmart and confirm that? No, I didn't. That's a good point. You see, normal stuff that it gets to the point where the faculties, the reasoning faculties, no longer, they don't work anymore. I got a call at midnight from some East Indian sounding lady telling me she's from Microsoft, that I had a virus.
Yeah, that's a biggie. My mom has fallen for that. And she goes, well, I thought it was because of you, because when I'm at her place, I have a computer there that I use for work. And I'm going, no, Mom, first of all, they would contact me. I'm the one with the Microsoft account. They wouldn't call you. Just because it's at your house. It's sad, but as you're right, many of them are so lonely, and that's where they're playing off of Christian Mingle and these other dating websites as well. They sure make it look good. They compliment you. They make you feel good. They make you think you have a chance, whether it's at them or for winning money or whatever the prize is.
Guys, I'm having a hard time with the connection. I'm kind of losing it. So I'm going to tap out. But Charlie, it's always wonderful to see you. Not only do you have a face for radio, but you have a face for YouTube because you got a beautiful smile. Walter, nothing but a pleasure. And again, I just want to remind everybody that, man, go to YouTube and watch Scammer Payback. If nothing else, it's educational and super entertaining. You guys have fun.
It is.
Thank you, brother. Talk to you later. That's Michael Baggett. Michaelb at ptlb.com. You want to get a hold of him and the ministry that he does through Principles to Live By. That's the name of the nonprofit that he's a part of, the ministry, Principles to Live By. And you can write him with any questions, Michael B, as in Michael Baggett, Michaelb at ptlb.com. Walter, I don't know if we fixed the problems of the world. I don't know if it's too late to help your friend Harley, but you are so encouraging to me because as a friend of his, when you found out about my show and what I do, you said, at least we can get the word out and warn others. And not everybody would do something like that. That makes you an extraordinary gentleman in my book. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you so much. And, you as well. You know, God bless you for what you do, your passion, your patriotism, your devotion to God. Thank you. That you're an inspiration, and God love you.
Thank you, sir. He does. He has. He will. And right back at you. I am Charlie Simons, and I don't want to give Mr. Lott's personal information out. I didn't even ask him. If you do have any questions for him or you do want to reach out and help him, you can reach me. Write me at csg.simons, S-I-M-O-N-S, csg.simons@protonmail.com. You can also reach me at Charlie, which is Charlee, because my middle name's Lee, Charles Lee, Charlee at the mag7, the number 7, ranch.com. 2 ways you can write me. If you want to get a hold of Kirk, it's Kirk at the mag7ranch.com. For example, if you want to say, I can't stand that Charlie, fire him. That's a good way to do it right there. So until next time, thank you for supporting this channel. Thank you for supporting this ministry by buying some of our merch. Like this 15-ounce mug right here. It's got our logo on one side, and on the other, 2 things we talk about that you're never supposed to talk about, religion and politics. or this shirt is really good quality, and the collar actually stays up where it's supposed to be. Imagine that. It's such a good shirt, and it's God, Family, Country on the back, and on the front right here on the chest is that logo. You can help us tremendously by buying some merchandise at our website, do-not-talk.com. Guess what we don't do? We don't compile a list and put you on blast. How about that? You're welcome. So if you can help the show grow, also through becoming a monthly subscriber at notalk.locals.com. That's locals.com. notalk.locals.com. You become a subscriber there. That really helps. All my friends who are subscribing now, it all adds up. And right now the show's halfway paying for itself. So it's still costing us money to put this show on. And when I say us, I mean my awesome producer, Kirk Deshawn, Forefront Aerial Productions. And the only reason why we're doing this when it's actually costing us money to keep the show going over a year now, over 170 episodes, we're into our 3rd season, is because this is a ministry. We are doing this for the Lord. Ephesians 5:11, be no part of evil, but instead expose it. And that's what we do. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, may America bless God.